Listen carefully. Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today I'm going to explain to you how I learned to whistle in less than a week. I watched this video, got inspired, and so basically, let's really quick just talk about how to do it. My whistling originally sounded like this. Well, it did not sound like that was way better than what it used to sound like. It just sounded like air. Like that. Like I was desperately trying to get a tone out. Now my whistling in less than a week sounds like this. I could do like, I don't know. I'm still struggling with really fast short notes. Like I'll explain to you all that stuff in a little bit. So and vibrato, I'm getting the hang of it. But basically, before, for 23 years, I thought whistling was just black magic, couldn't learn how to do it. And now I know how to whistle. I committed, now if you're going to learn it in a week and you're really, really bad, like as bad as I was, then you're going to commit to like 4 hours of practice a day. You're going to get very lightheaded too because you're sucking and breathing in air and constantly blowing it out. And just all that air just makes you really lightheaded. I've had to sit down because I was trying so hard. And you have to sort of make sure you eat some food and drink some water, because you can pass out if you go at it crazy enough. So just so you know, I was getting to those sorts of points. That's the kind of practicing I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. So the way it works is, for the first 4 days, I could not produce a tone. So my first goal number one, is make a tone. And so I would sit there forever, and there are a couple variables you control. So you control the shape of your mouth. And you need muscle memory for this to work. And I knew that I was going to need muscle memory. So I knew I had to make my muscles really sore. I had to do this repeatedly for long periods of time until I got something that I want. And as soon as I got any kind of a tone, I would focus in on that shape of my mouth and continue to try and do that. The second thing is you need to control the position of your tongue. So some people will probably tell you to put your tongue up like that. They'll tell you to put your tongue against the front of your teeth. That's only good for higher notes. So, there's other types of whistling too. I'm teaching pucker whistling as a side note. But anyways, low notes, your tongue will be back. So it doesn't seem, some people can whistle really low tones and they'll tell you it's all about the shape of your mouth. Other people will say, my tongue has to be up for me to be able to whistle. The trick is they're different mouth positions. So a lower tone is going to have a more open mouth position, and your front lip will be farther back behind your top lip, and vice versa. Higher mouth positions, your front lip will still be slightly behind, but not as far behind your top lip. So if I were to whistle a low tone, like, I'm not that great. I have to sort of whistle a tune to get down there. This lip is much further behind. This one sort of pops out. If I were to whistle a higher tone, my lips sort of pucker up together and my tongue is now at the front of my mouth. The other one, my tongue is back and my whole mouth is much more loose. The shape of your mouth will determine the kind of air tone you're getting out. I'm still working on getting that out of my whistling. Your mouth is going to get very tight. And it's just going to be that way until you have the muscles to do it. Because some people can whistle no problem, like they just do it. But normally their control over pitch and tone isn't that great. So first 3 days, I'm sitting there and my whole goal is just to make a sound. Just make a sound. And after I could make sounds pretty okay, I was like, okay, now I got to try making a different sound. So you're going to pick the position that your mouth is the best suited for. Just do something until you make a sound. I literally spent probably 16 plus hours just doing that thing. And it's annoying because you're like, other people are whistling. They've been whistling their whole life. And here you are doing this. But that's just the way it is. So you do it. And now what the next step is, you need to whistle another tone. And so after I finally figured out how to make a tone, it sounded terrible. It was this super airy tone. It wasn't that great. And then you have to figure out, okay, how do I whistle a new tone? And so I was looking up, I was reading blogs and everything, and people were just like, you just change the position of your tongue and then you can change the tone. Well, it's a combination of your tongue in your mouth. As your mouth will get smaller, the hole that you form with your mouth will get smaller this is similar to the to or poo shape. So if you say poo, the shape your mouth makes, when people will say just make the sound to, and that's the way it is. That's not the way it is. the way and that's one of the reasons why it probably took me so long to figure this out. You don't want your upper lip pointing out like that. You want it coming in a little bit and tight. So this would be the poo, and then they say do that. Like it doesn't work so great. But if you pull the bottom lip in a little bit, make it a little tight. So poo, like I don't know how to do this, but anyways, you pull it in, and so you make the sound like if we say two, and then you pull your bottom lip in while keeping your top lip where it is. That's really great for those sort of not high tones, but those mid-range tones. I'm working on extending my low range and my top range, but that it gets tighter, and it will get tighter and the aperture will get smaller. Airspeed is another thing. If you blow really hard low, you're going to have a harder time hitting lower notes. Lower notes will have a slower airspeed. You can do them with higher air speeds, but you have to really control the shape of your mouth, and that will increase the amplification. It'll make the sound louder. And then high tones are really, really tiny. And so to get those right, that I'm not quite there yet. But it's necessary because I wanted a good range to be able to whistle tunes. So I'm sitting here forever trying to just figure out how to make different tones now. And occasionally I would forget how to make the original tone. So what I would do as an exercise is I would sit there and I'd relax for like 2 seconds, and then I'd try and whistle a tone. Because I was always hunting to get it started. I was always like, what was the position my mouth was in? What was it? Like, it was just way crazy. So I would sit there and I would do this thing for forever. And then eventually I started figuring out different tones. What I was surprised is I could then whistle a couple tones, but I couldn't do this. And the reason is there's a tongue motion and a mouth motion. And I had been asking everyone, can you whistle? Can you show me how you whistle? I was paying attention really closely to their mouth and asking them how their tongue was placed and all these things. And was their mouth sore? Was it not? I don't know how the people with not soreness don't do it, but I went through and I had to just get the muscle memory. It wasn't built into my mouth yet. So I went ahead and did that. So my goal now is to be able to do vibrato, but hopefully that helps some. I played flute and clarinet. I played flute and clarinet. So the Airstream thing wasn't a difficult concept for me, but basically you're just blowing air through this hole, and you're going to use your tongue to shape the air, and you're going to use your mouth to create a hole that the air can resonate through. So when you're starting out, there's not really a secret way, except you got to just go at it. And then you just add things step by step. I wish I'd recorded a video of when I couldn't whistle, because I straight up thought it was impossible. I was like, I even thought about doing it. And I was so sure in my head for some reason that I was like, I'm not even going to bother because I probably won't succeed. Like, that's how convinced I was. But as you can see, I've gone a long way in the other direction, and it just took I think it was mostly the muscle memory. So if you're struggling with the whistling, just keep working at it until your mouth is sore. And I did it every chance I got. It was kind of a shock to me how hard it was to nail the same pitch every time. So if I wanted to like whistle a tune, you'd have to hit the same pitch. And sometimes if your mouth just changes just that much, it's like bang, different pitch. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on whistling. One day I'll record videos of it. And because the pitch can be controlled by the mouth position and the tongue, because they both play a role in the way the air comes out of your mouth. So by manipulating these at very small, quick motions, you can create vibrato, which is a shifting of the pitch between 2 tones. So we have, I can't really do it at this moment in time. It's more of like an amplitude thing instead, but I'm trying to get down those finer motions. It's just, I've also been whistling for like 3 hours today because I'm really into it. I'm thinking, what can I whistle? What cool tune can I go learn? Well, hopefully this answers some questions. I wish someone had told me about the tongue thing a little more clearly and about the shape of the mouth, because it's not the word poo. It's not the word two. It's not an ooh sound at all. It's like a ooh sound like that for me anyways. Maybe your mouth is different, because I've noticed that some people have different shapes. So that just plays a role. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.